So, Mythos. Drop pods.
It looks good. It looks good. Gorgeous work. But now that we've played a couple of games, do you think drop pods work in 8th edition? Or should this pod drop in the trash?
We'll see.
We will see.
What's going on, guys? I am Freak from the channel Frost and Fist, and I am accompanied by my good buddy
Wolf Brother Mythos. Hello, beautiful people.
As you know, we are the Frost and the Fist. I play the Imperial Fist, and of course, Wolf Brother Mythos plays
the Space Wolves.
Awesome. So we've been wanting to do this discussion. I know I have, because one of the questions that you know we've been kind of tossing around, especially since there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that are saying that drop pods are pretty much out of style in 8th edition.
It's funny, he literally had just finished up painting his drop pod, and then Index Space Marines came out, and we all looked at the price tag on a new drop pod.
It's ridiculous.
And we were like, why would we pay 3 times as much for a drop pod?
Right? And I'm thinking, I just finished painting it. I did a lot of work. I mean, I really busted my hump in this thing.
It looks
beautiful.
gorgeous. One of the things that really caught his attention and really kind of, you know, bust his chops is he saw some guy who was tearing apart, literally, his drop pods because he had a drop pod army in 7th edition. And he was so mad he was tearing them apart and making terrain out of them.
This into terrain. How offensive. Why?
You know, I bet that guy who had that, you know, power gaming drop pod army, I bet he was pretty offended when he found out the drop pods were out of style.
So the question to you guys, you know, and I'm sure you've asked the same question. Well, it's like, are drop pods any good in 8th edition? So one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to play it. I mean, I didn't care. You know, hey, I built it, I painted it, I wanted to play it.
It's probably the best looking drop pod I've ever seen in person.
I like it. Well, because I worked on it. But I wanted to see how well it did, you know, in a standard 8th edition game. And our last, if you go, and we'll actually put it in the link below. Actually, we'll put it in the card. Where's the, yeah, I think it's going to be there. I don't know. One of these. Anyway, we'll link the.
Usually it's this side.
Yeah, it's got to be that side. And we'll go ahead and put a link of the actual bat rep for the. Okay, so anyway, like we were saying, you know, I wanted to see whether it's going to be you know, viable in 8th edition, and of course we'll go ahead and link our last bat rep. It was 1,500 points. It was one of our best games ever, I think.
That game was so much fun.
It really was. It was Frost versus Fist, and Imperial Fist versus the Space Wolves. You'll see in that game that I brought a lot of Terminators. I brought my Inceptor squad, and I wanted to bring my drop pod to be able to carry a couple of my my tacticals. And I wanted to see whether the tacticals would be as contributors as my other stuff that I would, you know, normally, you know, teleport in, right?
Right.
So anyway, one of the things that I was really surprised, it did do exactly what I wanted to do. Now, if we can discuss the pros and cons, the cons most definitely are the cost. I mean, I lost a lot of points. I could have brought some other stuff.
Over 100 points.
Yeah.
Just for your transport.
Just for this. Yeah.
And it's not even like, I pay a lot for my, you know, for some transports, like when I bring Land Raider or when I bring the Storm Wolf, you know, those are transports with a high price tag, but they're also bringing a lot of firepower, right?
Right.
So it's really good for breaching. Like, it's going to come in, drop off a load of guys,
right,
and also blow to bits, you know, a little pathway for you.
Right.
You can't necessarily do that with the drop pod, though. You might get lucky with the missile shot.
Mm-hmm. Right, and this is what this one has. It has the missile pod on it. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to use this as a distraction. And I was really pleasantly surprised. Again, referring back to that game, he had a very, very nasty Contemptor Dreadnought, and I wasn't thrilled about that sucker coming head on. He's just mean. So what I did was I dropped the drop pod with several tacticals and kept them busy for a while. And the tactic itself was sound. The tacticals didn't last long against that Dreadnought, but they definitely kept them at bay. So, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that? I mean, does the cost justify, the ability to use that tactic?
Well, I think that one, drawing off the Contemptor was good, and if you look at it, almost 300 points for a Contemptor, 200 points. I mean, 200 points for a Contemptor. You got 100 points for drop pod, 100 points for a couple tactical units, a little more. So it kind of ate out its points, keeping that Contemptor tied up for a few rounds. That was good. I think it would have been even more effective if you'd aimed it at a softer target. However, everything on my particular list, was everything with invul saves, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he had a good elite army. And again, that's what really, really made it a very, very good game, because he brought in a very fast attack, very moving and elite army, and of course my stuff is more stuff that pretty much teleported strike onto the table. So
it offers a good way to fire too.
Exactly. So a couple of Terminators and Inceptors, and we had some Devastator squad as well. So yeah, I mean, it was a good match for point grabbing. I think it worked out, but again, my little guys didn't last long with the
points grabbing is another great point too, because if you start a game and let's say you have one or two objectives right somewhere in the open, you could always drop that drop pod down on an objective,
right? And
no matter where your guys go, that drop pod is there holding the objective.
Right.
So
right.
It's not a bad tactic either.
No, not at all. I'm still mourning the death of Lysander in that game. That was, I mean, that's the worst. Look, he's died before. That's the worst that he's ever gotten. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He freaking died horribly.
It's like the gents over at the Basement Collective say, what kills Terminator? Rolling ones.
It was not funny, and he was not rolling ones either. Sixes. It's not right. Anyway, so we want to know what you guys think. Have you played your drop pod in 8th edition? And if so, do you like it? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's worth the points? I mean, I don't know, Mythos. What are your thoughts? Would you use a drop pod in 8th edition?
Yeah. So currently, I don't really have an application to use my drop pods, because most of the time I'm probably either going to run them across the field on Thunderwolf, Sled, or I might. I got my Stormwolf I like to drop things in with, but when Brand comes out, I'm holding up hope, guys. When Brand
I think
comes,
it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna happen.
I think dropping Brand in middle of the battlefield might be a great tactic too.
That would be absolutely horrid if you did that to me.
Put him on the back lines and let him wolf out around somebody's back lines. Get him all transformed up. Yeah, I think that could be pretty awesome.
That's a really, really good point. I mean, I know that just about everything you brought on that 1,500 point game, everything pretty much just ran on its own, and it was fast attack, fast moving, and really did a lot of damage. Now, what about armies that don't have that ability?
If I were running a regular Marine army, I would definitely play a drop pod.
Okay.
Because looking for the ability, like Terminators are a great option to drop on a back line, but dropping heavy weapons on someone's back line too. I think especially softer targets, you drop, not only a bunch of bolters, but you throw in a couple plasma weapons or maybe even a missile launcher on someone's back line. I think that's going to be pretty awesome. I think it's just as viable as it used to be, just maybe not in the quantity that it used to be.
Right.
No more dropping 4, 5, 6 drop pods on someone's back line.
So basically, use them sparingly. you know, because apparently they're going to cost out the wazoo. And I only have this one. I'm not going to go run out and grab a drop pod, another drop pod anytime soon. But I personally felt that it did the job that I wanted to do, and it got my tacticals right where I needed them, right when I wanted them. So it did the job. Of course, I think if I would have rolled better, I would have done better in that game. But regardless, I think it did exactly what we wanted to do. So I wanted to hear from you guys. Do you still play drop pods in 8th edition?
We mostly play a lot of friendly games, and we're not super competitive players. So we'd really love to hear some strategy ideas from you guys, see what your thoughts are in the strategy of the current 8th edition meta.
Yeah, or if you think, like, you know, some other people think that the drop pods are just good for terrain, let us know. You know, put it in the comments below. So, hey, and if you like this video, give us some thumbs up. And look, guys, if you are not a subscriber of the Frosted Fist, come on, guys.
We would love to have you as part of the pack here on the Frost and Fist. Until next time, guys.
Stay frosty.